Okay, so we're going to be multiplying complex numbers today. And we need to remember that when I say complex, I mean the letter I for imaginary. One thing that we have to know today is that I squared equals -1. That is what we have to remember for today. Okay, so let's go ahead and do an example with this fact. All right, so guys, what is 3 times 2i? 6i. Let's multiply it in. 3 times 2 is 6, so this is 6i. Next example, we have 5i squared. The squared means you have the same thing twice. So this means 5i times 5i. So yes, 5 times 5 will give you 25, and I times I is I squared, because you have 2 of them. Okay. Now, what did we just say I squared was? -1. See, I squared is -1. So I'm going to write 25 times a -1, which means my answer is -25. No I. Okay, number 3. We're going to distribute. 2i times 7i is 14i squared. 2i times 3 is 6i. Now we have to remember the fact. I squared is -1. So this is 14 times -1 plus 6i. All I did from this step to this step was just change the I squared to a -1. Okay? So now 14 times -1 is -14. And this is plus 6i. Sorry, that looks like a B. That's your answer. We cannot combine these. They both need an I in order to combine them. These aren't like terms, so we keep them separate. Okay, number 4. 6 times -7 is -42. Yes, some of you guys might call this foiling, where you do the first, then you do the outside numbers. 6 times 5i is 30i. Then we do the inside. I times -7 is -7i. Then we do the last numbers. I times 5i is 5i squared. Now I'm going to go ahead and simplify. I'm going to bring down the -42, the plus 30i, the -7i, plus 5, and what is I squared? -1. Okay, guys, let's go ahead and simplify this even further. This is -42. Guys, these both have an I. So what is 30i minus 7i? 23i. Just subtract them. 30 minus 7 is 23. So this becomes 23i. 5 times -1 is -5. Now we still need to combine like terms. So -42 minus 5 is -47. So this is your final answer. These will stay separated because this is just a regular old number and this is an imaginary number. It has an I. We have to keep them separated. All right, last example. Okay, remember guys, whenever I have a squared, what does that mean? Yep, it's multiplied by itself. I have two of them, so let's write it twice. 2 minus 9i times itself. 2 minus 9i. So that is how we rewrite it. What do you think would happen if I had a 3 up here instead of a 2? I would write it 3 times. Multiply the same thing by itself 3 times. Okay, so 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times negative 9i is negative 18i. Next, negative 9i times 2 is negative 18i. Finally, negative 9i times negative 9i, it'll be positive because a negative times a negative, positive. 9 times 9 is 81, and I times I is I squared. Now we're going to simplify things. So I have 4, and guys, I can combine the middle term. Negative 18i minus 18i. You're going to add them together and keep it negative. This will be 36i. Plus 81, and guys, I squared is just negative 1. So in this step, we combined the i's and we simplified I squared to negative 1. Okay, let's continue. 4 minus 36i, 81 times negative 1 is minus 81. Now, I'm going to combine my numbers. 4 and negative 81. Yes. So 4 minus 81, what do we do, guys? We're going to subtract their opposite signs. So subtract 81 minus 4, you'll get 77, keep it negative, minus 36i. And that's your answer. All right, guys, this was a question that we wanted to go over, so let's go ahead and start. Whenever there is something right outside my parentheses, we're going to distribute. So we're going to distribute these two items first. So 3i times a negative 3i. First of all, 3 times negative 3 is negative 9. I times I is I squared. Next, let's do the other parentheses. 2 times a negative 2 is a negative 4. I times I is I squared. So here we are now. This plus sign doesn't really matter when there's a minus sign right here. Okay, the minus sign takes over. Okay, so here we are. Now, remember, I squared is what? Negative 1. I need to write that over off to the side. I squared is negative 1. So negative 9 times negative 1 minus 4 times negative 1. Okay. Negative 9 times negative 1 is a positive 9. Negative 4 times a negative 1 is a positive 4. So your answer is 13. Great one to bring up. Any other questions, guys, on your practice?
Level 2, 2.
Okay. All right, here's another question. -5 times -2 is a +10. Two negatives multiplied make a positive. -5 times 2i is -10i. So we did our first number. Now let's do the next number. 4i times -2 is -8i. 4i times 2i is 8i squared. There's two i's, so we're going to put I squared. Now we're going to combine like terms. This has an I right here. These both have i's. So -10i minus I. This is -18i. Bring down this 10. Bring down this 8. And remember, I squared is -1. So I'm going to put a -1 in here. Just change this I squared to a -1. So this will be 10 minus 18i. 8 times -1 is -8. Next, I'm going to combine like terms. So this is a regular number and a regular number. So 10 minus 10 minus 8 is 2. And then bring down the minus 18i. So this is your final answer. Any other questions y'all would like me to go over? Okay, I'm going to keep walking around.